What is up, guys? We're back with another video, and today we're checking out this case right here, which is the HYTE Y60, which is HYTE's second official PC case. Their first one was the Revolt 3, which was made for small form factor builds. Here we have a case that supports full-size PC components. You can pretty much do whatever you want in here, which is awesome. And of course, it's made to show everything off. So let's go ahead and take a look. As you can see, we received the red version of the case, which has a really nice glossy sort of red finish on it. I think it looks really good, but if you're not into the red, they're also gonna offer it in both black and white. On all three versions, the interior is all black, so definitely keep that in mind. Now, for those wondering about the actual size of the case, like always, I'll go ahead and put the official dimensions, sort of like right here. Right off the bat, this is definitely an eye-catching case. And of course, that is because we have so much tempered glass here. And to be honest, when I first saw this case, I was like, this is just like the Lee & Lee 011 Dynamic series. But HYTE has made this case uniquely different because they've added a 45-degree tempered glass panel here that connects the front and side panels. So you have no obstruction anywhere. So, whatever angle you're looking at this case, it allows you to see fully inside the system, which is really cool. We've seen a bunch of cool mods already for people putting screens and different things in this little 45-degree angle section. So there's a lot you can do with that. And then on top of that, that 45-degree angle and the way this case is designed, it's really great that it allows the case to more or less be put up against a wall or something like that and just show all of your system. Right below that 45-degree angle panel is all of our connections and our buttons. So we have a very large power button, two USB 3.0 ports that are Type A USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type C port, and a combination audio jack. At the front of the case, we have a tempered glass panel, and you'll notice there's no fan mounts, there's nothing like that. Of course, we're gonna get our intake from the side of the case, but this front panel allows you to see just straight through into the case. The main side panel is, of course, a normal tempered glass panel, and with all of the glass on this case, you're really gonna be able to showcase your build. Like I said, you can view your build pretty much from any angle of the case. The main side panel of the case is held into place by a single thumb screw. And once you remove that thumb screw, you can simply sort of just pull on the panel and it will kind of unlock and just kind of stay in place. I really like this because so many times these panels just drop and then you end up scratching up your desk or something like that. So I really like that. Now, for those wondering, you can remove both the 45-degree angle panel and the front panel. They're held into place by screws. Once you remove the side panel, you can easily take those off if you want to. The opposite side panel is that nice glossy red. And as you can see, we have all of these slits cut into it for ventilation. This not only is for the side intake, but also to help cool your storage as well as your power supply. Now, there is a filter built into this panel, but it is not removable. But again, you can easily just remove the panel and clean it off. Moving up to the top of the case, we find the same type of ventilation. Now, the top of the case is made of plastic, and you can pretty much easily just pull up on it to remove it. Once we remove it, we find a removable cooling bracket. This cooling bracket supports 3 120 millimeter fans or radiators up to 360 millimeters. As we move around to the back of the case, we find a pretty interesting design. So we have a 120 millimeter exhaust fan, and then of course our motherboard mount. Now, coming down to the expansion slots, we have our main expansion slots, which are actually low profile. And then we have a section for a vertical graphics card. Now, this is slotted for 3 slot, but it will support graphics cards that are a little bit thicker than that. Think RTX 4090s should fit in this slot. Now, the low profile slot, of course, houses the included PCI Express 4.0 riser, which we'll talk about in a second. But if you want to install any other card besides your graphics card, whether it's a sound card, capture card, something like that, it has to be low profile. Moving over to the other side, we have two storage trays that are removable. They're held into place by two captive thumb screws and they easily just pull out. Each of these trays support two 2.5-inch drives or a single 3.5-inch drive. And then right below that, we do have our power supply mounts. Now this case does support full-size ATX power supplies. Many other similar cases, you have to do SFX or SFXL. So it's nice to have full-size ATX power supply support here. Flipping the case over, there are two sections of feet that will lift the case up off the ground. And then we find a removable filter. Behind this filter are two more 120 millimeter fans. Now, one thing to note about all of the fans that are included in this case is that they are RPM fans, not PWM fans. Now, the bottom section of the case will also support two 140 millimeter fans, but there is no water cooling support. As we take a look inside, we have a pretty interesting design. So as far as motherboard support, this case can support mini ITX, micro ATX, ATX, and extended ATX motherboards. Right on the side of the motherboard tray are two large cable routing holes that have the rubber inserts installed. So it's gonna be really easy to route all of your cables. Towards the front of the case, we do have a cooling bracket that supports either two 120 or 140 millimeter fans, as well as radiators up to 280 millimeters. The sort of bottom floor of this case has the same design language as the top of the case and the back panel with all of the slits cut into it. Below that, of course, are your cooling fans. Now, I really like this as it keeps the design elements of the case sort of kind of all flowing together and it keeps things clean. But of course, if you want to install something like RGB fans down there, you're really not going to be able to see them. As you can see, we have our graphics card mounted vertically here, and this is the only way that you're able to install a graphics card unless it's really low profile. I like this because who doesn't want a vertical graphics card? It just makes the inside of your case look pretty cool. Now, this is all made possible by the included PCI Express 4.0 riser. The other section of the riser is, of course, plugged into our motherboard. And one thing I really like that HYTE did is that they encased that section of the riser in the same color as our case. So we have the red version here. If you have the white version of the case, it's gonna be white. If you have the black version of the case, it's gonna be black. I really like this because it helps you really keep the overall design of the case, you know, sort of together, and it just looks nice. The backside panel of the case is held into place by the same type of thumb screw system we saw on the main side panel. The only difference is there's not a large groove to hold the panel in place. So when you do pull it out, just hold on and it'll easily come right off. The back section of the case is going to house your power supply as well as your storage. And of course, you're going to route all of your cables back here. There are openings towards the top of the case and at the bottom for you to easily route all of your cables. And there are plenty of tie down points if you really want to tidy things up. When it comes to testing, we of course test both temperatures and sound levels. So here's a rundown of the hardware in our test system. As we come to the end here, I really like this case. I don't know how you don't like this case just because it's such a unique case and it just looks so cool sitting on your desk. Now, I know a lot of people will say, hey, this is pretty much like the 011 Dynamic Mini, but honestly, it's really not. The thing that really, of course, sets it apart is the 45-degree panel here. This just allows you to see inside your system no matter where you're looking at it from, which is really cool. And you know, we've seen so many really cool mods and things that people have done with this panel. We've seen a lot of screens be put on this panel, different things that you can do with that 45-degree panel. On top of that, you know, because of that 45-degree panel, we have all of our, you know, buttons and connections here. And this whole design with the 45-degree panel really lends this case to be put on the edge of your desk or up against a wall or something like that. So again, you have just a full view of your system at all times. And again, so much tempered glass here. It's a show-off piece. I mean, this is really to show off everything that's inside your build, which I absolutely love. 3 colors available. We have the red, it's available in white and black as well. And one thing I really like is that the PCI Express riser, it matches the case. So we have the red version of the case, our riser is red. In the other cases, it will match the colors of the case, which just makes it easier for you to build. You know, if I was doing an all red build, my riser is already red. I don't have to worry about it. So I really like that. I like the design language of this case as well. So all of the ventilation follows this sort of, all of these slits, and you know, they have all the same design language. It's followed throughout the case, which I really appreciate. As far as supports and you know what fits in this case and how easy it was to build in this case, you have support for very long graphics cards, full-size power supplies, which is really nice too. So, you know, the Lee & Lee cases, they only support SFX or SFX-L. Here we have full ATX power supply support, which is really nice, especially if you're bringing over components from an older build or a current build that you have. You don't have to go out and buy a power supply just to use this case. I didn't have any issues with our build. Everything went together quite well. As you can see, it's very clean too. So they made it so everything in this case is just super, super clean. The floor, as I call it right here, really makes it so all of your other cables are hidden down there. Now there is a caveat with that, is that one, this floor, even though it has the ventilation in it, is gonna block some of that airflow. And then on top of that, if you did want to install something like RGB fans, you're really not going to see them if they're, you know, mounted on the bottom of the case. So that's something to think about. Now, as far as the vertical graphics card, I love the vertical graphics card. Who doesn't like a vertical graphics card? But it limits pretty much any other expansion card that you want to put in your system because the expansion slots are low profile. So I can't think, you know, most sound cards are full size. Capture cards are full size. So if you want to install any other expansion card in your system, it has to be low profile. So it's definitely something to keep in mind. 3 included fans with this case, 2 at the bottom, 1 in the rear. They're 120 millimeter fans, up to 8 included fans in, you know, water cooling on the side as well as the top. So you have support for a 280 on the side and a 360 on the top. The problem with the fans is that they are RPM fans. They are not PWM fans. Kind of disappointed in that. I think most people doing a build are going to completely just remove the fans anyways, because at least they want PWM fans, if not outfitting this case with all of the same type of RGB fan or something like that. And that brings us to the price here, which is $199, which might, you know, kind of seem a little bit expensive, but it does come with a PCI Express 4.0 riser, and typically a PCI Express 4.0 riser is going to be about 50 bucks. Now, I would have liked to see a version of this case that came with no fans. The Lee & Lee cases you can get with absolutely no fans, which again, if you are doing a build or a build from scratch, or you want to make everything match, you're going to get all of the same fans anyways. So I think that's, it would have been nice to have a version that was a little bit cheaper that came with absolutely no fans. And I didn't mention there is no fan controller on this either. So that's something you want to keep in mind there. But like I said, I really do like this case. You can really build an awesome showpiece build, and it's just going to look so awesome sitting on your desk. Now, if you have any questions about this case, go ahead and leave it in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you hit the thumbs up. We'll see you guys in the next video.